Family, Shalom, family. Y'all listening to Yahuwah out here on Bilal. It's a beautiful day. Um, Praising Yahuwah for still having sunshine, even though we're in the month of October, 7th month. So, yeah, man. Um, Hallelujah. I wanted to deal with what I said I was going to deal with last week regarding the question, because we're getting a lot of questions in via the email, even on Instagram, social media, TikTok. People have been reaching out, but mainly through the email, I'll say, asking questions. And so we dealt last week with where the Kodesh land is, right? Where is it? Is it in Africa? Is it in the Middle East? Where's the history coming from, right? What does the script say about it? And we dealt with that. Hallelujah. We got some insight there. Shalom to everybody entering into the room. But yeah, so we dealt with that question, and another question that I believe was a very, very, very good question that came in the inbox. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to everybody entering into the room. Another good question is, people are, with the word Gentile, they want to know exactly what does that mean. Is it the same thing as a heathen? Is there a difference? So today I want to dive deeper into this idea of what shalom, family entering into the room. I want to deal with this idea of, are Gentiles heathens? And what is the difference between the two terms? What is the origin? What are the meanings of the two terms, right? And by the way, my name is El Hanuk. Moray, that means teacher in the Hebrew language. I am teacher here at Reset the Frequency alongside with my beautiful queen, Ahava Ezra Sarah, who is also a prophetic vein and a teacher, great mother in the nation, as a matter of fact. We do this service full time. This is what we are dedicated to. And so, yeah, we're going to answer this question today. This is something that I was determined to do, especially before entering into Yom Kippur, which is going to be this Friday, going into Shabbat. Hallelujah. So I wanted to deal with this before we enter into the rest of the feast. And if anybody, shalom, family, enter into the room, if any one of you all could do me a huge favor and let the Mishpaka know that we are live, we're going to deal with this question. Are Gentiles heathens? If you could put a link in the chat, that would be Tov. I would appreciate it. Abba Yahuwah would appreciate it. And so, yeah, that win. Well, first and foremost, before we even get started, I want everybody to put a 7 in the room. If you can hear me and you can see me clearly, I know it's pretty windy where I am. I thought that this was a beautiful spot where the water is, where the wind is. So put a 7 in the room. If you can see me and you can hear me clearly, put a 7 in the room. That way I know if I need to switch locations. I hope I don't have to because it's so beautiful here. But just put a 7 in the room if you can see me and hear me clearly. What you would probably hear in the background is the wind. It's pretty windy, right? Like here, I'm gonna hold up the camera. I'm right here, right on the Detroit River, right? So I'm in a beautiful location. Okay, I see the 7s in the room. If you can see me and hear me, 7. Hallelujah. See them 7s. I see some shaloms. All right, I'm gonna take that as we good, and you can hear me. Hallelujah. Told for putting that in the chat. All right, see the 7. So let's get going because I don't want this to be too long of a word. So the question: are Gentiles heathens? Right? To answer that question is not exactly right. What I'm gonna do in answering this question, which I've done this in the past, how I'm gonna answer this question is I'm going to give you the Hebraic definition, the Hebrew definition of what these terms mean, the origin of where they are found in the Torah, and then we're gonna go from there, right? And then I'm gonna let you decide on your own. I'm gonna let you make the determination based off what the script says or what the Hebrew language says a Gentile is, and what the Hebrew language says a heathen is. And I'm gonna let you come to that distinction. And of course, I'm gonna give you my opinion. But before I give any opinion of my own, of course, I'm gonna provide you with the facts I want to provide you with the accurate description. Okay, hallelujah. Told her I will speak louder. All right, I figured that, man. I'm like I said, I'm on the Detroit River where it's windy out here. So, all right. So before I give you my depiction, before I give you my opinion of what I believe the correlation between Gentiles and heathens is, I'm gonna give you the script, right? I'm gonna give you the Hebrew language, the Hebrew definitions, starting with heathen, right? So again, the idea of a heathen, according to the scripts, will take you back to the word gowai, right? Gimel, wa, yod, right? And so sometimes, even depending on like the translation of the scripts that you're reading, the translation of the Bible scriptures that you are reading, it may say pagan, it may say heathen, and it may even say nations, right? But all three of those English terms will take you back to the Hebrew word. When you look this up in the Strong's Concordance or in the ancient Hebrew lexicon, any resource that you're using that deciphers the actual words that they were written in the original Torah is going to take you back. It's going to take you back to the word goai, right? Gimel, wa, yod, right? And this word has a two-parent word root, gimel, wa, which means the back, or the back as the middle part of the body, used in lifting, right? So this root is going to take you back, because remember, all of our words Hebraically are concrete, and they all correlate with the five senses, right? Sight, smell, hearing, touch, right? All of the senses, right? Taste, all five senses. So this term is used, and I'm going to take you to the script where, you know, when it's first mentioned, really it's in Genesis chapter 10, right? Where Noah is being basically, he's gone into covenant with Abba Yahuwah, and his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, are given lineages, meaning that their sons are given specific territories of the earth where they are to possess, right? So Genesis chapter 10 is really the first place where you see this term used, but it literally means nations. And that's ultimately because nations would come from the sons or from the offspring of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, right? Now, over time, the idea of these nations being, you know, an offspring of the descendants of Noah, the meaning would change over time as Abba Yahuwah would choose out a people for himself, being, you know, our nation, the nation of Yisrael. It would change over time to ultimately mean nations who have customs that are different than the customs that Abba Yahuwah gave us in the Torah. So technically, Hebraically speaking, this word goah, gimel, wa, yod, it means back, nation. And I want you to write this down if you're taking notes, right? The people of a nation as the back or body, right? The people of a nation as the back or body, right? So almost like the base, the foundation of a nation as the people that make up this nation, right? And again, the acronyms that you will see in the English language for this word goai would be nation, heathen, Gentiles, people, and sometimes pagan, right? Put a can in the room if this makes sense to you and you understand, just based off of the just strict definition, the straight up definition, right, of the word heathen / Gentile, Hebraically, going back to the Hebrew word goah. If this makes sense to you, put a K-A-N in the room, which means I agree, I understand, yes, in the Hebrew language. Put a can in the room if this makes sense to you. Hopefully the wind has calmed down and you can hear my voice clearer. Hallelujah. That is my prayer. Okay, I see can. Okay. I see some cans. Hallelujah. I see them cans. All right. Because I mean, it's a very straightforward and simple definition, right? Right? It means nations, right? And again, this word is used to describe, for the most part, all nations beginning in Genesis 10, but it begins to change as Abba Yahuwah would, as you can see in Genesis chapter 12 through like 13, once he starts to communicate with Abraham and he starts to set Abraham apart, right? You see a distinction between the nations that would come from Abraham, specifically Israel, and all of the other nations. So let me go deeper into this. I see the cans in the room, so I can go deeper into this idea so that we get a good picture of what this means, right? This word in time would have a correlation between the nation of people and the Elohim that they serve. So the nations that serve other Elohims outside of Abba Yahuwah would be considered Gentiles. This is based off of the definition that I'm giving you, the Gawai. Because as it says in Deuteronomy chapter 7, he chose a nation, and that was Israel, which would mean the other nations would fall underneath a category that would not be that exact set apart nation. You follow me? And again, there is a correlation between these nations and their gods. There's a connection. Hallelujah. There's a connection there, right? Now, I want to read that Deuteronomy chapter 7. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 7 for me. Deuteronomy chapter 7, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about with how over time this definition would change, right? So Deuteronomy chapter 7, it won't be long. We're only going to go a couple places today, I promise you. Deuteronomy chapter 7. And I want to deal hold on one second. I want to start with verse 5, right? Because verse 5, if you reading the context of this, these are specific instructions that Abba Yah gave to our ancestors as they were preparing to enter into the land of Yashrael, right? And he told them basically to utterly destroy the idols and the altars that the nations that had possessed the land of Israel had prior to us getting there, right? So you can read verses 1 through 4 on your own for time. I'm not going to read those verses. I'm going to start at verse 5. Just wanted to give you a little context. So start at verse 5. It says, but thus shall ye deal with them. Deal with who? Concerning the other nations. And you'll see where that term is used in here, but I just want to read for now. He says, but thus shall ye deal with them. You shall destroy their altars, break down their images, and cut down their Asherah poles. Why? Because Asherah, also known as Ashura, right, was a deity that they served. The people in, specifically the Canaanites, right, if you want to be exact. But it says, cut down their Asherah poles and burn their graven images with fire. For you are a Kodesh, holy people. That term Hebraically is Kodesh. That means set apart. People unto Yahuwah Elohika. That means your Elohim. Yahuwah Elohika has chosen you to be a special people unto himself, above all the people that are upon the face of the earth. I'm reading directly from Deuteronomy chapter 7, right? So I feel like that's enough to work with. He's setting Israel apart from the other nations, even in his instruction and telling them, hey, when you go into this land that I'm giving you to possess, I want you to tear down these idols, these graven images, Because, and he even mentions one specifically, Asherah. There were others. I'm not going to go down the list of the other Els that they had built altars to in that land. But specifically, he's saying the reason I want you to tear down these altars is because you are a set apart people special unto me. And I know we dealt with this a little bit last week when we talked about is Yashrael in the land of Africa. And we came to the conclusion that absolutely yes, when you look at when the Suez Canal was created and all that history and the prophecy surrounding that, we came to the conclusion that the reason why those Hamite nations that had possessed that land were removed out of that land was ultimately because of their idol worship to other gods. This is more so proof or evidence of that. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this teaching so soon after I did the other teachings, because all of these things line up. They make sense, right? They make logical, chronological, historical sense when you read the Torah from Genesis through Deuteronomy and you see what was going on in that land prior to Abraham being called into that land, to basically when, Yaakov was in that land and his sons were pulled out of that land, and we ended up in, Mitzrayim because of what happened with Yosef and that whole thing, ultimately all the way to when Moshe comes on the scene, right? So ultimately, I'm saying all this to say, you can clearly see in just these two verses, I don't even have to go even that much deeper, but just with these two verses, he's setting Israel apart from the other nations, right? Put a 100 in the room if you can see, based off of what we just read in verses 5 and 6 in Deuteronomy, based on the context, put a 100 in the room if you can clearly see that Abba Yahuwah set Israel apart from the other nations concerning the Els, the gods that these other nations were serving in that land. Yahuwah set Israel apart in this instruction. Put a 100 in the room if you can see the point that I'm making, and if it makes sense to you. Put a 100, 100 in the room. Hallelujah. I think it's pretty clear, but I'm taking my time and I'm teaching because I believe that this is a very sensitive topic, especially considering everything that's going on in the world right now. Hallelujah. So that's what it is, right? Now, I want to skip down to verse 20, right? Because I think we were in chapter 20 of Deuteronomy last week. And like I said, it's like when the better you understand Torah, the better you'll be able to understand the condition and where we are in the timeline of the turning of the captivity right now. I want to make that statement, right? And Abba Yahuwah is opening up my eyes to it, so I'm going to share it with you, right? So if you skip down to verse 20 in chapter 7, right? He's still giving them instructions. He's dealing with Pharaoh and Mitzrayim. He's dealing with, really all of the other nations. He's going through ultimately the command to not serve and to not fall into the traps that these other nations have fell into, right? I don't have time to deal with all of it, but I want to skip down to verse 20 where he says, moreover, Yahuwah Elohika will send a hornet among them, you're going to see other nations among them, until they that are left and hide themselves from you and be destroyed. Watch this. You shall not be frightened at them, for Yahuwah Elohika is among you, a mighty El and terrible. That means, the idea of terrible is really like fear, like he's to be feared. He's to be feared. You need to fear Yah, right? Because of his power. Not only what he can do, but what he will do to those who disobey his commands. But watch this, verse 22. These are our, watch this. And Yahuwah Elohika will put out those nations. Same term, same word Hebraically. Gimel, Wa, Yod, Gawai. Those nations before you little by little. You may not consume them at once, lest the beasts of the field increase upon you. But Yahuwah Elohika shall deliver them unto you, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction until they be destroyed. And he shall deliver their kings into your hand, and you shall destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before you until you have destroyed them. Verse 25, the graven images. See the connection, y'all? The graven images of their Elohim, that means gods, shall you burn with fire. You shall not desire the silver or gold that is on them, nor take it unto you, lest you be snared therein, for it is an abomination to Yahuwah. That means he hates it. I don't have to go, it's not the point of this teaching, but that idea of abominable or abomination, which is funny because you got the word nation in abomination, it's something that Yah hates. And not only is it something that Yah hates, but it's something Yah hates so much so that his hatred and his disdain for it will cause him to destroy a nation. Whew. Right? This is ultimately why Achan, if you read the book of Yahusha, chapter 7, right? Achan, right? Of the tribe of Yehuda. He had to be from our tribe, right? This is why he and his family got destroyed. And this is why we lost the battle, right? Going into AI initially. Because he had took some silver and some gold in that region of Jericho, and that silver and that gold was ultimately supposed to be put under the ban, meaning it was supposed to be taken, retrieved, and given and burnt as a sacrifice unto Yahuwah Elohika, but he kept it for himself. And that in itself caused our nation to fall in battle in that time period. Hallelujah. So I'm only going here to show you that the idea of nations, it changed. Initially, it was just people, right? Because in the beginning, Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, everybody knew Yah. Everybody was supposed to be serving and yoked to Yah. But in time, other Els got introduced to the sons and the daughters and the descendants of Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And then they begin to worship other Els, right? So verse 26, neither shall you bring an abomination into your house, lest you be a cursed thing like it, but you shall utterly detest it. That means you hate the idea of it, right? And you shall utterly arbor it, for it is a cursed thing, right? Now, this is the context overall in general, when you whether you want to use the term Gentile, heathen, nation, pagan, all of it is going to take you back to this concept. But I want to go deeper now. I'm going to give you the English definition, right? The English definition of heathen, right? And this is according to dictionary.com, right? And this is, like I said, it's like the modern definition. So this is not like the definition from when the scripts were written, but I just want to give you the idea of what it's viewed as now. And I want to kind of tie in, like I said, my perspective on it, right? So look, heathen, this is the English definition of it. According to dictionary.com, you could easily go on Google and look this up yourself. Heathen is a dated term, primarily of someone who is not religious, or whose religious is not Judaism, Islam, or especially Christianity, which that's kind of funny to me, but let's keep going. It is also used disapprovingly of someone who is not cultured, right? This use is also dated, and when I say dated, when they say dated, that means that people no longer view the definition in this way because it has changed over time, right? So watch this. In current use, pagan is most commonly used of someone who practices a contemporary form of paganism, such as Wicca, making the word synonymous with neo-pagan. But pagan also has meanings identical to those of heathen. So now they're bringing in the term pagan, right? Which is a whole, it's literally a religion, right? Which I don't have time to deal with in this video, but as I read this definition, you'll get more understanding of it. It says, but pagan also has meanings identical to those of heathen, and those who use it, in those uses, it too is dated, meaning that the people who came up with this initial idea of heathen and pagan, they've changed it, right? It no longer means the same thing to them as it used to, right? Then it says pagan has literally the use referring to a non-religious person who delights in sensual pleasures and material goods, right? So I'm laughing because a lot of this is true. It's just because the definition of truth has changed, the definition of heathen has changed, right? So look, the origins of heathen and pagan are semantically similar. Heathen likely comes from a term for a country inhabitant, in particular, a heath dweller. Watch this. The Latin source of pagan, pagonis, originally meant country dweller or civilian. It was used at the end of the Roman Empire to refer to people who practice a religion other than Christianity, Judaism, or Islam, and especially those who worship multiple deities. Now, I want to say this. The idea of what we went over with the Hebrew word goai ultimately lines up with the original definition that goes back to the Latin word, the heath dweller. It's going to take you back to a nation. A person dwelling in the country normally is like a rural area that is like outside of the city, right? It's outside of where a lot of people are and that whole thing. But when you look at the nuts and bolts of how this term is used, separating this individual from a religious practice, i.e., a god, you'll see that the term ultimately means the same thing. It means one who is disassociated with the biblical, the scriptural idea of Elohim, and we know that that's Yahuwah. So saying all this to say, if you were to look up this term, of course they associated with Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. I already explained this in one of the previous videos, you know, the big three. But let's just be real, as it pertains to Torah, this definition, it still stands, right? Now, I want to read Jeremiah chapter 10 before I do another checkpoint. But this is, you know, we got Halloween right around the corner, right? We got our feast days this week, beginning from last week with Yom Teruah, the blowing of the shofar. We got Yom Kippur coming up and Sukkot next week. I want to read this, right? And this is Jeremiah chapter 10. And then I'm gonna give you my perspective. But like I said, I wanted to give you Torah, and I wanted to give you evidence historically and biblically of what this means first before I give you my opinion, and then you on your own make your own decision. But watch this. This is Jeremiah chapter 10. Start at verse 1. It says, "Hear ye the word which Yahuwah speaks unto you, O house of Yashrael. Thus says Yahuwah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. For the heathen are dismayed at the customs of the people are vain. For one cuts a tree of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not." Watch this, y'all. "They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither also is it in them to do good. For as much as there is none like you, O Yahuwah, you are great, and your name is great in might. Who would not fear you, O King of nations? For to you does it appertain. For as much as all the wise men of the nations, and in all their kingdoms, there is none like unto you. But they are altogether brutish and foolish." We'll talk about what that means in a little bit. "The tree is a doctrine of vanities. Silver spread into plates is brought from Tarshish, and gold from Uphaz, the work of the workmen, and the hands of the founder. Blue and purple is their clothing. They are all the work of cunning men, but Yahuwah is the Elohim of truth. He is the living Elohim, and the everlasting King. At his wrath, the earth shall tremble, and the nations, the Gawai, same word, shall not be able to abide in his indignation. Now, I don't even feel like I need to read any further in there. But clearly, Jeremiah is speaking this because Israel is already practicing idolatry at this point. And Israel is about to go into captivity during the lifetime of Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Daniel, right? The three major prophets, throughout the 70-year Babylonian captivity. But I'm saying all this to say that Abba Yahuwah makes a clear distinction, right? In verse 2, where he says, learn not the ways of the heathen. So now I'm going to give you my understanding of what I believe based off of the Hebraic definition of the Gawai, right? What that means, the context of how it changed over time from what we read in Deuteronomy to now what we're reading in Jeremiah, and ultimately what I even see now in this time period of the awakening. What I see is that Abba Yahuwah he's made a distinction in the nation that he set apart and all the other nations based off of, one, who serves him as El, and two, the nation's customs, because the nation's customs and the El, or the God that they serve, are one and the same. So to answer that question, are Gentiles heathens? Technically speaking, they were birthed into a custom that is Gentile, that is heathen. But if they choose to serve Yahuwah as El and take on the customs that Abba Yahuwah gave to his people through the Torah, then technically they would not be considered a heathen because they are cleaving onto Abba Yah as their El and cleaving onto his people. If that makes sense, what I just said, how you can see, if you can see the distinction of the idea of a Gentile and a heathen, and how technically, even if you were born into a Gentile lineage of a Gentile nationality, nation, right? Heathen, pagan nation, but you turn to Abba Yahuwah and you cleave to the ways and the customs that he gave to Yashrael, and you view him as El, then that does not necessarily make you a heathen. Put a can in the room if you see it and it makes sense. Because I feel like we overcomplicate all of this. We overcomplicate it. Put a can in the room if you understand, and this makes sense. A K-A-N in the room. It's really not that difficult of a concept. Now, hallelujah, I see some cans. And if it don't make sense, let me know. And I could spend more time. I can go deeper. Hallelujah. I could take more time. I can go deeper. I can answer any questions that y'all got even now. I normally don't really do that on the live. But if you got questions, if it doesn't make sense to you and you want more clarity, let me know and we can dialogue. We can talk about it, right? Because this concept, I believe, the more you just read the script, the more it's evident, right? Now, obviously, there is a distinction between Gentiles and Hebrews who are born blood lineage, right? But again, it goes back to the customs and the El. So technically, Gentiles are not automatically heathens, but if they don't cleave to Yahuwah as El, and they don't cleave to the people, and they don't cleave to the customs and the ways that Yahuwah gave to Yashrael, which is Torah, then they will still be heathens. It's that simple. It's that simple, right? It's not rocket science, but it is, watch this, it is confusing when you got religions like Christianity and really all the world religions that promote an agenda to make it seem like everyone is the same and your nationality does not matter. Your color, you hear people say this all the time. I don't see color. Color doesn't matter to me. Bold-faced lie. If it didn't matter, then why would Abba Yahuwah make the term goyim to be nations? Why would he make a separation between peoples? Wouldn't make sense. No, color absolutely does matter. 100%. And anyone that tells you that it doesn't, they a bold-faced lie, and they're going to Sheol. And they probably don't serve Yah. And they probably don't perceive the truth when it's presented to them. Big facts. It matters for sure. It matters. Now, it's not necessarily a matter of because you were born into a certain ethnicity or a certain nation that you are just deprived from ever having a relationship with Yah and ever entering into the kingdom. It's not, no, like that's, I dealt with that on the video I did yesterday, and we deal with that all the time. Like, there is a way to Yahuwah through Yahusha and through cleaving onto the blood lineage descendants of Abba Yahuwah who are returning unto him as our captivity is turning, for sure. That's of a truth. There is a way. You're not just doomed because you were born into a Gentile or a heathen lineage. Hallelujah. Come on, man. Talk to me, y'all. If this is making sense, please let me know. Please let me know your thoughts, what you feeling like. If this is hitting, if this is resonating, and if this is just bringing clarity on how Abba Yahuwah set it up, the order of salvation, even dealing with nations, which is why he chose Israel and why he chose, watch this, the kinsman redeemer of Israel to be Yahusha. Come on, talk to me. Put a hallelujah in the room, something to show me that this is lining up and this is making sense, because I'm telling you, we're entering into the season of the witch where a lot of their customs, a lot of their practices, a lot of their ways are out here. A lot of their ways are, watch this, they're having an effect on us because of us being in this land and us not being actually conscious and aware of the ties that we have had to these customs and even just these ways, these mannerisms that we have adapted, that Abba Yahuwah is trying to pull us out of by revealing us the truth and teaching us his way, his customs, his manners, right? That are not vanity at all. Yah's way is the light. It's the truth, right? So, yeah, man, like I really wanted to bring insight to this idea because I'm trying to tell you, like, that whole idea of I don't see color. Color does not matter. All of these things, the who the people are doesn't matter. You can't tell who the lost tribes are. There's not enough evidence to even know that. It's like all of those statements go against every principle that Abba Yahuwah has put together and revealed concerning why he chose a nation, why he chose a people. I was dialoguing about this recently with my Isha, and it was told how she put it. It was very, very, very told how she articulated it. But basically, I believe she was out somewhere, and there was a woman who probably was in Christianity. Matter of fact, no, I think this woman for sure was in Christianity, and she was saying some of those terms that I just mentioned, like, yeah, I don't see color, and I don't think it really matters, and all of that. And my Isha was able to be patient and tune into intuitively the intention behind this woman saying what she was saying about why she believes color and nationality does not matter. And Maisha was led, and I'm paraphrasing. This is not her exact wordage, her verbiage, but I'm paraphrasing. But she said something along the lines of, well, the reason why it does matter is because, for one, it matters to Yah. But also, she said regarding Abraham, she painted a picture for the lady she was talking to. She painted a picture. She said it was almost as if Yah looked upon the earth and everybody was serving other gods, other elves. But Yahuwah looked down and he saw Abraham choosing to serve him, or he saw Abraham's heart as faithful, right? And when Abba Yahuwah presented himself to Abraham, Abraham responded and built an altar. Hallelujah. And so this is ultimately what made Abba Yahuwah call Abraham his friend and cleave to, or I don't want to say cleave to Abraham, but go into covenant with Abraham, which ultimately in turn transferred to Yitzhak, because he taught this to Yitzhak. Abba Yahuwah appeared to Yitzhak, also known as Isaac. Same thing with Jacob. Then the 12 sons of Jacob, and then now you got our nation. So saying all this to say, Abba Yahuwah considers who takes him serious as El, and who ultimately desires the purity of the truth. And he looked upon our forefather, and guess what? Our forefather showed and proved himself faithful to Abba Yahuwah. So this is ultimately why when we read what we read in Deuteronomy chapter 7, where he says he chose Israel above all nations, it goes back to the faithfulness of our forefather Abraham. Hallelujah. And so, again, this is why, when we teaching, we're not just teaching, we're going based off what the script says. Everything that I'm saying, even in my opinion, you can read about it in the Torah. Hallelujah. So saying all this to say, it absolutely does matter. And to make it seem like it doesn't matter is more of a lying narrative. It's more of a narrative of deception that will keep you, watch this, distracted with vanity. This is why in Jeremiah 10, he says, man, the customs of the heathen, they're vanity. And that's going to take you back to the idea of nothingness, of flowing into nothingness. It's empty. There's no truth there. There's no Ruach HaKodesh there. There's no Torah there. There's no love there. Hallelujah. There's no power there. There's no true power there, I'll say. So, yeah, man, like the idea of what a heathen is, I believe to Yah, it's so deep. Yes, it is the Gawai, it's the nation. But watch this, it's the custom that chooses to reject the Torah. And I don't care if it's Christianity, I don't care if it's Judaism, I don't care if it's Islam, I don't care if it's Hinduism, I don't care if it's Rastafarianism, I don't care if it's 5%er, I don't care if it's I don't care what the religion is, I don't care what the way or the custom is, Norse mythology, Greek mythology, you name it. If it's outside of the Torah, and it is outside of Abba Yahuwah being the supreme El of Els, the most high El Elyon, power of powers, it is considered, hallelujah, it is considered to be heathen. A custom or a way of a heathen, of a nation that is not set apart unto Yah. Therefore, it's headed for destruction. Put a 25 in the room. This makes sense, family. If you get it, if you understand, if you see the correlation and you see the difference, and you see, especially as a Gentile, if you see like, oh, okay, I see why I got to come out of the customs of my forefathers, and I really got to learn this Torah. I really got to learn and understand and be taught by the nation that Yah did set apart and gave Torah. If you really see it, family, put a 25 in the room. Hallelujah. I need you to put a 25 in the room. If you see it, you understand, this is resonating and you connecting. Because I'm telling you, man, hallelujah, we got our feast, but season of the witch. I did a word on this a while ago. Season of the witch. You got Halloween, you got Christmas, you got Thanksgiving, you got all of these days, right? Where, again, it's a summoning of their idols, of who they have chosen as El. And I don't have time to go deep into this, but I did a word last year around the time of Halloween, where I was dealing with the fact that all of these holidays that they have now are ultimately rooted in heathenistic, paganistic rituals that are linked to other gods, other Els. And so that's why we as Yashrael, we have to set ourselves apart. And we have to understand why we are set apart, right? Why Yah is going to judge these nations the way that he is going to judge them. And why, watch this, especially for Israel, it is really imperative for us to do what we need to do in the cleaving and the returning unto Abba Yahuwah, because guess what? We are the light that Abba Yahuwah placed in this earth realm, right? So, yeah, man, like, bottom line is that at the end of the day, when you look at the facts, when you look at, the correlation of Gentile, heathen, pagan, it's all going to take you back to whether or not Yah is El. Again, bloodline, yes, these are, Yah only chose, he chose Israel. That's just who he chose. But I want to say this, when it comes to the other nations that are involved, right? Yahuwah chose Israel to choose all nations, in the sense of he chose Israel as a vein, the top of the line when it comes to the order of salvation, as a way to get unto him. So it's not like Yah just wants to destroy every nation just because the nations are just wicked and just, no, it's ultimately because he knows if you don't choose him as El, the way that you live, what you produce, what you repopulate in this earth, the way you spend your breath, the way you spend your time, the way you invest energy and purpose every single day is ultimately going to equate to vanity and nothingness, darkness. And that is what will lead to your destruction. Not necessarily just the fact that Abba Yah wants to or desires to kill you and to destroy you. That's not his will. He said several times, it's not his will that any should perish, but that all should come to the knowledge of what? The truth. So this is why we go as hard as we do, and we really look up the facts. We look up the etymology, the origin of the culture, right? The culture and the historical time frame of what was happening around the time that the word was going forth, to really understand it so that we're able to map out and understand the context of what Yah is saying, so that we don't misinterpret it, and so that we're not out here just teaching false doctrine and being led astray by what we feel and what the world feels and what the world thinks. No, what does Yah think? Hallelujah. That's what matters. Like the brother put in the room earlier. I like that. Yes, man's opinion don't really matter. Now, I'm going to tell you, my opinion going to be based off this word. But overall, I'm going to tell you, don't take my opinion for it. Read this word for yourself. That's what we tell everybody. Read this word for yourself. Pray. Set yourself apart and see if what Abba Yahuwah has spoken through me, or has spoken through this word, this Torah, this truth, see if it checks out. Hallelujah. And if it does, all esteem to Yahuwah. And if it don't, then I don't know. You got to do some more praying, fasting, or I don't know. You got to incorporate something for Abba Yahuwah to open up your eyes. But I'm telling you, our eyes are open. And we see what it is. We see the distinction, and why Yah is making a distinction, and why we can't just lump everything together. Because let's just be real. Talk this truth and reality right now, right? The effects, and I know my Isha definitely hit on this on Shabbat's word, but the effects of what took place, right, in the transatlantic slave trade, even now, the effects that have taken place have generationally brought curses to us, right? All esteem to Yahuwah. Shalom, shalom. Hallelujah. Yeah, man, like the effects, they have brought curses that have duplicated in the passing of our blood from one generation to another. So the idea of reciprocity, right? I want to kind of talk, I'm just flowing right now, but I want to talk about this because the reciprocity only is valid when the harm that was even done generations ago is acknowledged. What does that mean, Moray? What that means is that if I, as a descendant of Yehuda, have to live the prophecy of Deuteronomy 28 spoken over me, right? If I have to live that because of what my forefathers did, I am affected as a result of it. It also means that the Goyim nations that benefited off of my captivity, that forwarded my affliction, and that perpetuated a narrative that was outside of Yah's will
and desire for them, and really, making that an opportunity for them to turn to him and to serve him. Oh, if I have to pay for that, then you have to pay for that as well. And it doesn't necessarily mean I desire your destruction. It's I desire for you to see the cause and effect that goes back to what all of our forefathers did. And the end result is this. Yah not only wanted Israel to serve him as a nation, but he desired all nations to serve him. It just so happened that Israel was the only nation at that time that was willing to forsake all their other ills. Now, of course, what got us into the captivity was that we ended up doing what? Turning to the other ills, right? Building, Asheroth poles, like what we just read in Deuteronomy and in Jeremiah 10. Asheroth poles and Baal groves, and offering our children to Molech through the fire. All of these crazy things, that's what got us into the captivity. And I'm telling you all now, particularly to the Gentiles, you have to understand what your forefathers did, and you have to resignate. Like Maisha was saying on Shabbat, you got to resignate. There has to be a true resignation in the depth of what was caused by your forefathers, its effect on us, and how Abba Yahuwah desires you to humble yourself and to see how he placed his ways within us, to cleave unto those ways. Because guess what? Those ways are set apart unto Yahuwah in his Torah. And that is what we are. That is what literally the awakening is. You ever hear me refer to the term of the awakening? The awakening is us as Yah's jewels, waking up to who we are, fulfilling the prophecy in the Torah about him turning our captivity. You Gentiles have to resonate with that, because if you don't, then you're no different than the people in Christianity, right? Those who claim to be Yahudim and are not, and are of the synagogue of Satan, who perpetuate a lie and want to keep us in the bondage, which is keeping the world in the destructive nature that it is in. That's why the script says creation groans for the manifestation of the sons of El. Some versions say sons of God, but Romans 8. It's creation, the whole world, the whole earth, I should say, really. But yes, the world included in that is waiting for us to wake up and to be activated by that blood of our kinsman redeemer, Yahushua Hamashiach, for us to turn back to our heritage, which is the Torah. So you got to know these facts. You have to know, you have to understand the chronological order, the true history of things, and why these things matter. Why it matters who's a Gentile, who actually is bloodline, and what Gentiles really need to do to really cleave so that you don't get destroyed by Abba Yahuwah when he comes and he sends that destruction. Hallelujah. This is what it is. These are the times. So I pray that, that question was answered. Like, is there a difference technically between a heathen and a Gentile? Technically, I mean, you could be a Gentile in a set apart assembly that's cleaving onto Yashrael. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a heathen where you're cleaved to the ways of your forefathers. What makes you a heathen is that you are rejecting Torah. You are rejecting the truth. You are rejecting the ways and the customs that Abba Yahuwah gave Israel. That's what ultimately makes you a heathen. That's what makes you a heathen, is when you're following ways and customs that link you to other elves. And for Israel, I'm gonna just be real. A lot of us, we bloodline descendants, but we didn't cleaved onto the ways of the heathen. And that's the problem. That's what got us in this captivity. Are you kidding me? That's what it is. Todah for posting that link to the word from Shabbat. Hallelujah. Definitely go watch that. If you're a Gentile and you watching this, you definitely need to go watch that link, that cultural appropriation, what they didn't tell you as a Gentile. Because these are all things you need to know, in addition to what's biblically and Hebraically what a Gentile is versus what a heathen is. These are foundational truths that I promise you, with the exception of, it's only a few Gentile people that have a platform that actually teach these truths. I'm gonna just be real. Most of them that have platforms, they don't even touch that. Even if they give you concrete understanding of what Yah's name is and Torah and all of that, Oh, they don't deal with that Gentile topic. They don't deal with that heathen topic. It's only like a couple, one or two, really one in particular, right? That I could just name off the top of my head, which I'm not gonna do for, you know, the video's sake. But just saying all that to say, no, man, like you gotta learn this. And hallelujah, we gonna teach it. We gonna teach you these truths because Abba Yahuwah has opened up that vein and that lane unto us and the servants unto him with the Ruach, the spirit of Eliyahu. We're going to stand against the falsehood that the prophets of Baal have perpetuated with that replacement theology, wicked demonic doctrine. Yahuwah is, when I tell you he's so serious about the nation of Yisrael, matter of fact, I got one more script for y'all before I shut it down. Hallelujah. One more script for y'all. Hallelujah. And guess what? It's in Jeremiah too. Watch this. It's in Jeremiah too. Watch this. Look at this. I want to read this. I'm going to show you how serious Yah is about his heart, his emotional attachment that he has to the covenant that he made with our forefathers in the making of the nation of Yisrael. This is how serious he is. And this is what I want you Gentiles and you heathens to understand and know in coming into this, that Yah has a special place in his heart, will always have a special place in his heart for his people. So much so that he based the new covenant, the renewed covenant, in sending his son to die because of this. Let me read this. This is Jeremiah 31. Watch this. Whew. I feel that fire set up in my bones. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. And it's funny. It's like you supposed to be dealing with it. Are Gentiles heathens? I'm trying to give you Yah's true heart posture as it pertains to the nation of Israel. And Israel needs to know this, which will ultimately allow us to take more serious the voice and the instructions, the Torah of Abba Yahuwah, our relationship that we have with our Elohim and our Creator. And you Gentiles need to take this serious too and understand that Abba Yahuwah is being gracious by opening up the door and letting you in. Hallelujah. On both ends, we got to humble ourselves. But look at this. I'm just going to read. This is Jeremiah 31. We're dealing with the renewed covenant, right? This is, I have to read this because this shows you how serious Abba Yahuwah is about the establishment of his nation. Y'all know that when Yahushua HaMashiach returns, right, that he's king of all the earth, but the nation that he's king of is Yisrael. You know that, right? It's ultimately what the renewed covenant is based off of. So watch this. Jeremiah 31, verse 31. I'm going to read this, right? Behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that I will cut a renewed covenant. Watch this. With the house of Yisrael. Doesn't say I'm going to cut a renewed covenant with replacement theology, Christianity, with the Church of Rome, with the Baptist Church, with the Methodist Church, with the Lutheran Church, with the Nation of Islam, with the nation. No, he said with the house of Israel. Put a 50 in the room if you clearly see verse 31 where he says, behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that I will cut a renewed Chadash, meaning made like new, restored, reset, recovered covenant. Watch this, with the house of Israel. That's the nation of Israel. If you see that clearly in your script, put a 50 in the room. 50. Hallelujah. So, you know, that's how you know replacement theology, demonic. You're going to completely remove the nation that Yah chose? Yah can remove the nation if he wants to because he's Yah. You can't do it. No, Gentile. Humble yourself. Put a 50 in the room if you clearly see where this renewed covenant is established with the house of Yisrael. Hallelujah. And with the house of Yehuda. Come on. Not according to the covenant I cut with their fathers. In the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim, which my covenant they broke. What does it say? It's saying that our forefathers broke the covenant with Abba Yahuwah, right? So Yahuwah in verse 31 is saying, okay, at a certain point, I'm going to renew that covenant, even though they broke it. I'm going to renew it with them. Look at this. Even though they broke it, not according to the covenant I cut with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Mizraim, which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband unto them, says Yahuwah. But this shall be the covenant that I will cut with the house of Yashrael after those days, says Yahuwah. Look at this, y'all. Please, this you want to understand. You want to understand the depth of what Yah is calling first Israel and Gentiles to do. I'm turning back to this Torah. Look at this. But this shall be the covenant I will cut with the house of Yashrael after those days, says Yahuwah. I will put my Torah, my instruction, in their inward parts, that's their heart, and write it in their hearts, and will be, watch this, their Elohim. I'm trying to tell you, what sets a nation apart, what makes you a Gentile, is who is your El, and that makes up your custom. So this renewed covenant is based off of the Torah, this same Torah. Look, not a new Torah. Look, and they shall be my people. They shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahuwah, for they all shall know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, says Yahuwah. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. This is why Yahushua HaMashiach, this is why his blood was shed. This is why his blood was shed on the stake. This is why Yahuwah resurrected him. This is why he came. This is how he destroyed the works of darkness by renewing this covenant that Abba Yahuwah made with the house of Yashrael. If you understand that, put a 100 in the room. Hallelujah. If you understand that, put a 100 in the room. Big facts. 100. I know. 100. 100. 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. Keeping it 100. What they say, I'm keeping it a buck. Just keeping it a buck. This is what the script says. I'm keeping it a buck. 100. This is what it's based off of. Hallelujah. I see them 100s in the room. 100. All right, now watch this. Watch this. Let's keep going. I'm almost done, y'all. Verse 35. Thus says Yahuwah, which gives the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night. Which, man, this is so deep. I wish I could go deep into it. This is so deep. He's likening how Abba Yahuwah set the constellations up in the sky. He's likening that to how he set up the nations in the earth. Peep game. Peep game. Watch this. Watch the text. Watch this. Look. 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 Which divides the sea when the waves roar. Yahuwah Zava'o is his name. Verse 36. If those ordinances depart from me, says Yahuwah. So wait a minute. What ordinances? What ordinances is he talking about? I was reading this recently, and Abba Yahuwah gave me such a new, profound understanding of this text. It's almost as if this text leaped off the page into my brain, into my spirit, and I said, "Woo, woo! Look at this! Look at this! Look at this! If those ordinances depart from me, says Yahuwah, stop." What ordinances is he talking about? Everyone just assumes that the ordinances that he's talking about is Torah, the customs, right? The statutes, right? Which he's referring to that, but in this context, he's actually referring to what he said in verse 35. So the ordinances that he's referring to is the sun for a light by day and the moon and the stars for a light by night. Woo! You see it. Tony sees it. Tony sees it. As long as the sun is shining, as long as the moon shines at night, whoo! As long as the waves on the sea roar. Y'all hear this wind behind me? This is a river. This ain't even an ocean. This is a river. And you can hear the wind blowing, roaring. He's saying those ordinances. Hallelujah. He's saying those ordinances. Watch this, y'all. Watch this. Look, if those ordinances depart from before me, says Yahuwah, then at that point, then the seed of Yashrael also shall cease from being a what? A what? Put it in the room, family. Verse 36. Then the seed of Yashrael shall also cease from being a what? Put it in the room. Hallelujah. Man, I'm preaching. This is the truth. I'm trying to tell you. A nation. At that point, a nation. If those ordinances depart from before me, says Yahuwah, that means once the sun stops shining, once the moon stops coming up into the sky, once the wind from the sea stops roaring, at that point, then the seed of Yashrael also shall cease from being a nation before me forever. This is a major promise. He's literally saying, as long as the sun is shining, oh man. They used to say this in Babylon. Turn to your neighbor and say, as long as the sun is shining, as long as the sun is shining, Abba Yahuwah is our El. As long as the moon shines at night, Abba Yahuwah has promised to renew his covenant that he made with our forefathers. And he proved it by sending Yahushua HaMashiach to die and then resurrect. This is a major promise, Israel. I need you to see this. So yes, doesn't matter who's a Gentile, who's a heathen, who's the set apart nation. It absolutely, you bet you it matters. It always, as long as the sun is shining, it's always going to matter. Thus says Yahuwah, verse 37, if heaven above can be measured and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Yashrael for all that they have done, says Yahuwah. But guess what? Oh, he took it a step further. He said, listen, 37, he said, listen, if heaven can be measured, which by the way, it can't be. You know somebody that's measured heaven? Let me know. Let me know. Put it in the chat. Let me know who has measured heaven. Who can? No, only Yah. Only Yah. And don't tell me in Ezekiel and in Revelation. And no, those are righteous prophets and men of Yah who got a chance to see and perceive the throne room, but they didn't measure it. Only Yah can do that, right? Thus says Yahuwah, if heaven above can be measured, which that's rhetorical because clearly it can't be by man, and the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, which can't nobody do that either, I will also cast off the seed of Yashrael for all that they have done. But guess what? No one can do those things. So yeah, what a promise. What a promise. This is how serious Abba Yahuwah is regarding his people and this awakening and the turning of this captivity and the love that he has for his sheep. And watch this. So much so that he placed his light, his owar, his custom in us so that we would give it to the other nations. Woo! Hallelujah. Tim understands it. Tony understands it. Hallelujah. Y'all get it. Everybody putting the 50s, the 100s, the 25s, the cans, the 7s. You see where I'm going with this. You see where I'm going with this. Abba Yahuwah, he's faithful to his promise to our nation. And as a Gentile, I'm going to tell you, you need to cleave. You need to resignate. You need to heed the words that Abba Yahuwah is telling you to do in this time period. I need everybody watching this video to like this video, like this live, subscribe to the channel if you have not already subscribed, and I need you to send this video to at least 3 Gentiles, whether they are open to the truth or not. I need you. It's time for the witness. It's time for the witness, and if not the witness, it's time for the iniquity to build. And can timepiece. Yes, this is a Sefer Bible. Yep, definitely a Tov version, a Tov variation where they have the Hebrew alphabet. Can I recommend? We don't get too deep into that conversation, but the Bibles that we definitely can vouch for are Sefer. The Basor is pretty good. Only thing I don't like about the Basor is it does not have the apocryphal books, and those are key. But the Sefer is a very Tov rendition of the scriptures. Hallelujah. But saying all this to say, listen, send this to 3 Gentiles, whether they have an ear to hear or not, because I'm telling you, the time of the captivity is turning. Abba Yahuwah is awakening us, and guess what? He's fulfilling his promise to turn our captivity by activating us. Now it's up to us to really take what Abba Yahuwah says serious and take it to heart and to live by it. See, it's one thing. Watch this. This is so good. You know how they say in Christianity all the time, they quote scripts, the just live by, or we walk by faith, not by sight. Well, guess what? It's one thing to walk by faith, it's another thing to live by it. Abba Yahuwah is calling us to live by this Torah, to live by his instruction. And if you have not gotten a copy of my book, our book, the book that me and my Isha collaboratively wrote, right? It's entitled Baseline Torah and Yahusha, right? I will definitely make sure to put a link to it in this description of this video. But listen, we talk about that. That's what that's how we using our breath. That's how we're utilizing our time, our space, and our energy. It's by heeding these commands and having an authentic relationship with our Abba, turning back to our customs. So yes, we make a distinction between ourselves and the Gentile and the heathen and the Goyim. Hallelujah. All esteem to Yahuwah. All right, y'all. I love you all. Again, if you have not already subscribed, support the work of what we're doing here at Reset the Frequency. The frequency is Yahuwah. The frequency is Yahusha. The frequency is the Torah. The frequency is the truth. And we're waking up one day at a time, step by step. Hallelujah. One jewel, one piece of truth at a time. What the scripts say? Scripts say, line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. But every day we're activating and we're growing in our purpose and returning to our Abba Yahuwah, El Elyon. That means the most high El above all Els. He is the true master and the true king. I love you, family. Shalom, beloved Tim. I see you in the comments. I definitely loving your vibration and your energy. Reach out, our email. Reach out to me. Email ZionFrenchyJudah@gmail.com. Shoot me an email. I would love to connect with you. Would love to connect with you, Tim. And the other brother too that was on there. I forget the name. But yeah, man, like I seen some new brothers in here, and I love to see that, man, because it's a lot of women, but when it comes to men, oftentimes we be too prideful to learn the ways from our elders that Abba Yahuwah has set apart. Like, I'm literally set apart to do this work. Like, this is me and my Isha. We are full-time servants of Abba Yahuwah. This is what we do. We don't do side hustles and all that other stuff. Yeah, we write books. We do kingdom works that are ultimately for this work that we're doing, but we are set apart unto this. But please, anybody that wants to reach out, please reach out via email. Torah administrators for putting that the way that you can sow into Reset the Frequency via tithe offering, donation. However you can support this work, it helps us to get this message all across the 4 corners of the earth. And with that being said, I love you all. And yeah, man, we'll talk again soon as Yahuwah wills. Much ahav, shalom. If you haven't already checked it out, please go and check out that video, The End of the Gentile Reign Part 2. I just posted yesterday. Please watch it if you have not already done so. Huge witness to the nations. And all esteem to Yahuwah. Much shalom, family. Everybody that was new in the room tonight, much ahav and shalom to you. And we'll be in touch. Shalom, shalom, family. All esteem to Yahuwah. Hallelujah.